Hello friends, I am very happy to welcome you to the demo of 12 key functions of eCAAT. This is the first video on eCAAT, but the third video in the series of data analytics. If you have not watched the first two videos, I request you to watch the first video on data analytics and the second video on the overview of eCAAT, because you need to understand the concepts of data analytics and how eCAAT has been designed to be able to understand how to use these functions of eCAAT. We had earlier seen the concepts of data analytics and eCAAT. Now we are getting into practical demo of specific functions, and I'll relate it to specific audit tests and show you how these functions can be performed. You will see that these functions which I am showing you are available not only in eCAAT but also in high-end software. You can also perform these functions using Excel if you are very well conversant with macros and you know how to do coding using macros. But in eCAAT we have simplified this and made it very user friendly. So you can perform complex data analytics functions in a few clicks using eCAAT. Let us see this in action. Please remember that using data analytics is a mindset, is a way of thinking. So it's important that you know that in data analytics we are looking at how we can access and analyze this information. In the first two videos I showed you how you can get the data into Excel, and once you got the data into Excel, how you can apply the concept of data analytics. Now in this video we'll be covering 12 functions of eCAAT. Let's get started one by one. I will briefly provide the description of the function related to the financial statement assertions or the controls, and then demonstrate the function with sample data from eCAAT. Now these are the panels and menus in eCAAT. You find the software has been designed in such a way that the first function you perform is to curate the data, to structure the data so that you make it ready for use. Then you get an overall perspective of how the data is structured by profiling the data, and then you can analyze the data using various functions. You investigate further, and you also document the audit tests. eCAAT also performs documentation internally based on the functions you have done, and you can also rerun the tests which have been performed earlier. There are also various utilities and tools which are available for the user of eCAAT. If you remember, in the first video and the second video we gave you the concept of data analytics, and we also explained that eCAAT has been designed from the perspective of saving you time, from the perspective of making you use data analytics in a very simple way. Let me show you a quick walkthrough of the functions of data analytics which are available. Now this gives you a brief description of all the functions which are available in eCAAT. You got the Curate panel, under which you got the remove menu, under which you got various functions. You can remove non-alphabetic characters, non-numeric characters, non-alphanumeric characters, multiple spaces, all spaces, leading spaces, etc. You also have the delete menu, where you can delete the objects or images, top X rows, empty rows, etc. We also have the convert menu, where you can convert the Excel file into a PDF, or you can also convert a selected range to PDF or image. You also have the format menu, where you can format to lowercase, uppercase, title case to sentence case. You can also change the sheet name. You also have the transpose menu. Then you have profile, under which you have the data menu. Then you have the total sub menu. You have details menu, clipboard, highlights, search menu. I'm giving you a quick walkthrough. We'll provide the details of these software functions later on. You have the Analyze menu, you have the gaps menu, outlier submenus. You can also have the changes menu, where you can identify changes in terms of the date sequence, numeric sequence, identify changes. You also have the sampling. There are more than 15 types of sampling. You also have fuzzy match, which I'll be showing you in the videos later on. You also have the split sheet menu. You can perform the investigate functions. In the investigate you have analysis menu, where you have various types of analysis you can perform, including Pareto, ABC, ABCD, quadrant, percentile, etc. You can also perform stratum analysis, relative size factor and maximum variance factor. So these are all the different types of functions. There are more than 250 functions which are available in eCAAT. We'll be covering this in a series of video in the later phases. Now let's get into the brief description and demo of the key functions with reference to sample files, which you can also use it for practice. So if you are a user or a customer of eCAAT, I suggest that you pause the video as required, use the eCAAT sample data and run the function so that you can learn this function as you watch the videos. You'll find there are 12 key functions which are very, very powerful functions, and probably you can learn this in 15 to 20 minutes. The first function which I'm going to cover is Harmonise Sheets. Harmonise Sheets reformats the column, heading, rows, etc. automatically as per the standard tabular format, so that you can make the worksheet ready for audit. Okay. So you look at the example, you can format the selected worksheet to make it usable in eCAAT. Now I'm going to open eCAAT and perform this function. Now when you open eCAAT, there's the tab you got. Now you see these are the panels: Curate panel, Profile panel, Analyze panel, Investigate panel, Document panel, Utilities panel, and the tools. Now if you remember Curate, I talked about remove. These are the various functions in remove. You also have the delete. You also have convert. Like that, you got multiple functions you can perform. You have the data. So I'll go through some of the functions. So let's get started. One of the first things you need to do when you open eCAAT is click on the sample data, and this file will be opened. Now this is a workbook which has got multiple sheets. You have the eCAAT guidelines. I suggest you read the eCAAT guidelines. You can also refer to the frequently asked questions pertaining to eCAAT, which has been provided here. And for performing various cell-based functions or the Curate functions, we have kept sample data called as cell functions, and we also highlighted the column or named the column in such a way so that you can know which function it refers to. Now the file we are referring to is called as procurement to harmonize. Now we want to run this function harmonize. I go to transform and then harmonize sheet. Let's look at how this function works. Now first thing I want to do is I want to remove the top 13 rows. If you see here, from 1 to 13 I want to remove, because I want the first line in the header row. There are various options available. Now I'll select the basic options which are commonly applicable, and then I have to select OK. Now you see what will happen with this file. You see the original file had images. Now you find this file has been structured so that you can actually use it for data analytics. Now using this, you can use it in Excel also for the purpose of performing filter, pivot table, and various other functions. So this completes the first function we wanted to cover. Let's go to the next function. Column statistics. I said one of the first things you need to verify when you get the source data is to confirm that the data is correct and complete. This is where column statistics could be useful. This function displays the column-wise statistics of numeric, date, and character data. Using this, I can match the data with the original source. Now remember, when I'm talking about the financial statement assertions, this can be used to verify the cutoff concept. This can also be used to verify the completeness and correctness of the data. Let's go to eCAAT and perform this function. So we want to perform column statistics. I come to this file, let's say sales stamps. I would like to perform column statistics. I click on column statistics. Now it identifies all the fields which are available in this particular worksheet, and it also tells me the numeric field, what are the default fields which are selected. You also have date fields and you also have character fields. So what I'd like to do is I'll say OK, because I'd like to just run with what are the default settings available. Now eCAAT will compute the statistics for each of the fields for the options which have been selected, and will display. Now if you see here, let's go to the numeric field. Numeric field, it gives me the average of the sales, sum of the negative records, maximum value, the minimum value. It also tells me the null values, which means in the invoice column there are 3 values which are null. In the sales, we don't have any null value. It also gives me the sum of records so that I can verify what are the total of the sales and confirm and tally with the original source. Similarly, if you look at the date, I was talking about the cutoff concept. Now you find the earliest date is 1st April and the latest date is 31st March. So I know that the data belongs to the financial period 1st April 2016 to 31st March 2017. It also gives me the population of the data. It also identifies whether any null values. For each of the days also I get statistics so that I can know what is the type of data, what is the value and number of data which is available. I can also double click and extract the data for the relevant row if required. And I can also export this to Excel by clicking on this. Now let's go to the character field. Now in character fields, just look at the data and tell me what is the exception or a issue which has to be red flag. You find the number of null values. For the user ID, we find there are totally 6,666 transactions. You find there are 10 transactions for which we don't know who is the user. So it means these have got null values. So just by doing the field statistics, we have been able to get a overview of what this data is all about and confirm that. Let me also show you one bonus function. We also got column properties. Using the column properties, you'll see here, I should be able to get an idea. I load the properties. Now here if you see, for each field name, it tells me what is the data type, what is the total number of cells, what are the valid cells. Now if you see here, I find the total valid cells are 6,663 and there are 3 blank cells. It also tells me what are the distinct cells which are available, and also finds the distinct cells 10 which are blank are given as distinct. You also find what are the distinct cells in 565, and in the invoice what are the number of distinct cells. If I want, I can get this data in Excel. So now we have covered function number 2, column statistics. So you see, it's very simple and easy to use. Let's go to the third function, which is classify, which is a very simple but very powerful function. What is classify? It groups each distinct value in a character column and displays the sum and count of a corresponding numeric column. So example, I want to classify all the transactions as per the party name and summarize based on the amount or based on the sales. So we will use the sales trans file from eCAAT sample data. The financial statement assertions or the controls which I can review is accuracy and completeness. Let's go to Excel and check this data. I've got the sales transaction file. Now I go to data and say classify. It identifies, it said classify works on character fields. I want to identify based on the name and I want to get the total of the sales. I can also group by based on specific user ID, which I'm not doing. I can also put a condition. I would like to get sales below a particular amount or greater than a higher amount. And I can also say what the field I want to display in the result field. Okay. Now I say okay. Now this I'm performing on a single field. What is the result I expect? I expect the total count and sum of sales as per each of the names which are there for all the 6,666 records. Now I feel eCAAT has already computed this. Based on this I find the first thing you find there are 2 names which are blank. You also find that ABGen has got 8 transactions. Like that it gives me the count. It also gives me the percentage and the sum of sales. So there are totally 678 list of customers. If I want to select a particular customer, I can also just type and you find that I can filter based on this. I can also filter based on the value. I can also sort this in ascending or descending order by a single click here. And I can get this value into Excel. If I would like to know what are the total sales in this which are beyond 5 lakh rupees, so enter 5 lakh rupees here. Now you find dynamically you are able to get this information of what are the sales beyond 5 lakhs. I can also get this data in Excel. This is how classify can be performed for a single field. We'll also see how we can perform classify for multiple fields. Let's go back to classify. Now I'm going to select classify based on the name and the user ID, and I want the total of the sales, and I want the results in a new workbook. So when I say new workbook, and I also want to add the index, I will see what is this index, and I give the path. Let's say I would like to save this in desktop, and then let's create a new folder, test files. I'll say OK. Now I'll give the name of this. Let's say I call it as classified results, and I say OK. Now look at the difference between the function which I performed earlier on a single field and the function I performed on a multiple field. Now asked that the results I want it in a new workbook, not this existing workbook. I'm using the sample data for giving the demo. You can use the actual data for the purpose of performing this function, but it's important that you make a copy of the data before performing this function. So now you find this is new. We have added the index sheet. Now it gives me the original data. It has made a copy of the original data. I got the classified based on the name. You find here all the names and just sum of the sales and percentage. Now percentage sales is missing because many of them are less than 1, so it might have come as 0. Then you have classify as per the user ID. For each user ID, now you find there are 10 which are blank. For each user ID, I get the total number of transactions entered. I also get the percentage and the sum of sales. So this is how we can perform classify for multiple. So if there are 10 fields or 20 fields, I can get all these results in one glance at one shot. Now let's resume and go to the next function. Now let's perform aging. Here also we'll perform aging on a single or multiple fields. What does aging do? Aging groups and totals all the records that are within or beyond the aging date based on specified aging intervals. Let's say I want to identify the aging of stock items from the date of purchase to specific date. Now using this, we can verify the accuracy and completeness of the data. Now let's come to the aging function. I got the aging analysis here. Now I got the stock of the data. Let's analyze this. What is the data I got? I got all the stock items which are purchased. Now what I would like to do is I would like to perform the aging of this particular data. So I go to data, aging. eCAAT identifies the dates which are here, which is the purchase date, and that's what I want to analyze. It identifies the minimum date and the maximum date. It also tells the minimum interval and the maximum interval. So aging date is given to 25/3. I leave it that way. And increment, I would like to have it as, let's say, 60 days. Okay, and I can fill the data. So when I say fill, it has taken as 0, 60, 120, like that. By intervals of 60 it has taken. And there are two options, aging summary and aging details. I am selecting the aging summary, which is available by default. And then I say OK. Now here you see I got single field and two fields. I am showing you the function how I can do for single field. Now here I am doing for all the stocks. I can also group by a particular based on the particular or based on the ledger name. We'll come to that little later. Or you can perform on your own. Now what is the result I expect? Now eCAAT has quickly computed this. Now you see for the first band 0 to 60, there are 5 items. The total value is 7,17,300 and the percentage 3.35%. Again from 60 to 120, there are 2 items. Like that it gives me the complete aging analysis of the stock statement which is available. Now I also find there are 3 items which are beyond 1087 days. And it gives me the total value of this item is 6%, which is very material, and the total value is 13,72,000. I can get this data into Excel. I just click here. I find the data is copied into Excel. So this is how you can perform aging on a single field. Now let's perform aging on multiple fields. Where is the data for multiple fields? Now I'd like to select this. So what I'd like to do is, now there are multiple sheets here. Now this I'll give you a bonus function here. I don't know how many sheets are there. So instead of navigating to this, I just go to index and say index sheets. Now you see what will happen. eCAAT automatically computes the index, which means it identifies all the sheets with their name and also computes the statistics in terms of number of rows, number of columns and number of cells. It also provides the link. So what is that I was searching for? I was searching for the aging data. This is the aging we had. Aging analysis, aging. It looks like the file is not available. Let us check this again. index sheets. Let me see whether I got aging. How many fields do I have? Aging analysis. Aging. It looks like I don't have the aging to perform multiple functions. I'll show you maybe in a later video. Let's come back again to our presentation. Now let's show you one of the simple functions, which is highlight. The highlight menu has the following functions. You can highlight the negative or the unique numbers, specific values, alternate rows, misspelled words, function errors, cells having comments, or cells with spaces. In this demo, I'm going to highlight specific values. So what does this function do? It's very simple. It identifies and highlights cells with specific value from selected or all the columns. For example, I would like to highlight all values of sales which are more than 10,000 using the sales trans file. And I also said that I want to verify the authorization or completeness using this. Now I come to the sales trans file. This is the sales trans file. I would like to highlight. I have the highlight here. Okay, I wanted to have specific values. I click on specific values. And I say what are the values I want to search. I say 10,000. And where do I want to search? I want to search in sales. So I highlight the sales. I have given the entire worksheet. I can also say select columns, and then I say sales, and then I say what is the color I want. I want this. I can also filter based on the color. So I'll say filter based on the sale. I'll say OK. Now you see all the value of sales of 10,000 have been identified. Now 10,000 I said including 10,000, which means containing 10,000. That's why even starting with 10,000 and ending with 10,000, that will be covered. Okay, this is how we can use the highlight function. Now let's look at one more function, which is identify uniques. Identify duplicate menu consists the following functions. Here we are going to look at identify unique, which means we would like to identify unique values. Displays all records that are unique, not repeated or non-duplicated in the selected column. For example, I would like to find out the number of employees from payroll file. I have got the payroll data of 1 year. I would like to find out payroll of employees who have been paid only once during the year. Okay, so assertions is I would like to verify the validity or the accuracy of the data. Now let me go to payroll file for this. So to go to payroll file, I directly click here. This is a payroll file. So what I would like to do is I'd like to perform identify unique on the employee name. Identify, I say identify uniques. So here I want to identify unique based on the employee name. Okay, and I say OK. This has got the payroll data for 12 months, which from April to March. So it runs through all the data of all the employees and finds which are the employees who are unique, which means have been paid only once. Now you see here, I got the result. Now I find this Anuradha Mittal and Saurabh Singh. These are the only employees who have been paid only once during the year. So I can verify what happened and why these employees have been paid only once. Let me show you a bonus function. Now that I've got the list of employees, let me show you what is the data I have got. Now if you see here, this is from April to March. Now can we use any other function here? Let's say we run the classify function here on this. I run the classify. If I run classify, what is that I'm interested in? I have to classify based on the employee name and total the actual pay. Okay. So what do I expect to get? I expect to get what is the total salary for each of the employees for the year. It will also give me the count. Okay. Based on which, let's see whether I can get the exceptions. Now here I just filter, click on this, sort. Now see same thing, Anuradha Mittal and Saurabh Singh is there. They have been paid only once. You also find Jyoti Pradhan who has been paid twice during the year. Like that I can get the complete list of this one. Let me sort it again. Now I find here there are some interesting information. You find Manoj Kumar has been paid 18 times during the year. Nazuk said 14 times and Muhammad Zahir 13 times. Okay, so I'd like to go and verify what is this employee who has been paid 18 times. Now you find here, it finds 3rd May, 3rd June, 3rd June. It looks like 3rd June we have paid him twice. Again, you find June, July, the employee has been paid thrice. So I can definitely investigate and find out why it has happened. It also tells me who is the maker and the checker. So you also find whenever there has been duplicate, you find in the case of July, you find it's entered by two transactions twice. It has been paid by one employee, another time it has been entered by another employee. So this is how we can do the exception analysis for the payroll. Now let's go to same, different. What is the same, different? It matches the values of each column of all the rows to identify records where the values on 2 selected columns are same, but the value of the 3rd column is different. For example, I want to identify suppliers whose name and PAN are same, but the addresses are different. So by doing this function, performing this audit test, I am able to assert and confirm the accuracy and validity of the data. Let us use the file called procurement. I got this procurement data. So what is that I would like to perform here? Let's look at what are the data I have got. I got the PO number, vendor code, vendor name, material code, unit price, amount, pay terms, user ID, etc. Okay. Now let's look at what is the difference. Now I got the vendor name. Okay. Based on the vendor code and the vendor name, I'd like to verify that the location is also same, whether the location is different. So I assume that if they have got the same vendor code and the vendor name, the location should also be same. What is the function you're going to perform? Same, different. So I go to identify, duplicates, same, different. So what are the fields I wanted to select? I want to select the vendor name and the vendor code. These are same. And what is the field which has to be different? The location is different. Okay, so this should not be, because he's operating from the same location. I can also do the same analysis, let's say for if I'm buying specific products only from a specific vendor, I can also find out the difference. I can give as the material code. So now there may be about 2000 plus items here. eCAAT will analyze this and I should be able to get the result now. I got the result. Okay, let's see, it's still computing. Yes, we got the result finally. Okay, this is a little complex calculation. So you find here this vendor. Okay, now same vendor. Now it seems to be buying from Mumbai, Bangalore and Chennai. So which means there is a lot of issues with this data, and that's why I think it took so much time. So you find this vendor is operating from multiple play locations. So either the location is wrong or this is a we are buying from multiple locations from this particular vendor. Okay, now let's go ahead. Identify format. What is the identify format? Identifies the format of each row in the selected column, marks it as C for character and N for numbers, with option to show the field length and identify the exceptions. For example, I want to identify the format for all the PAN numbers with the field length and also identify the exceptions. Okay, let's use the PAN file from the eCAAT sample data to verify this. I got the PAN data here. Okay, so I want to identify the format. Identify format. I'm just showing you one specific example. You can perform specific functions depending on need. By default, I got PAN. I want to show the field length and I want to identify the exceptions. Let's leave the exception. Let's just look at the result and see what happens. Now you see, we already computed this. Now you can apply a filter here. Okay, so so we have to apply the filter. I got the filter. Now based on the filter, you find here, so the actual pan number, there are multiple lengths. We know the actual pan number length should be only 8. So it means except 8, except 9, sorry, then all others are exceptions. So you find these are the pan numbers which are, or how is it correct? Okay, so based on this you can find out are there exceptions. Okay, let's go ahead. Now let's look at sampling. We'll perform two types of sampling. I'll just take you one simple sampling. So I would like to list or pick up select number of records based on random. Okay, the objective is I would like to select specific number of records based on random. I use the same, our favorite file, the sales transaction file, for performing this. We got about 6,666 transactions. Let's clear this and get all the data right. Now what I'd like to do is come to eCAAT, click on eCAAT. I go to sampling, then I got random number of items. Now here I select number of records. Out of this I want to select 12 records and I'll say OK. Now you see at random I have selected 12 records. Okay, this is very simple. Now I'd like to show you a little more advanced type of sampling. Here we would like to do what is called as sampling, which is stratified random. So stratified random will do it based on the date. So in this case what I would like to do is I'd like to stratify the data based on the date and then select the sample, or I can also do based on the value. Okay, now this gives you the assertion in terms of authorization, validity and the segregation duties. Let's go here and check. I got this data here. What I'd like to do now is I want to perform random stratified sampling. I got the stratification. Let's change this. Let's do it based on the value. So numeric stratification. I can also do based on the date of the character. I just picked up numeric because this would be easier for you to understand. Okay, I got the sales. It shows me the minimum value of sales is 500, the maximum value is 2,26,500, and has given the increment as 22,600. I say I want the increment as 25,000 and I say fill. I got this. I'll say OK. Now I'm performing stratification, which means I'm getting the data as per specific bands from 500 to 25, 499. Like that I have the specific bands of data. Now I would like to perform sampling on this because I would like to pick up higher number of sampling from the higher values and lesser number of sampling from the lower values. So I click on sampling here. Now it gives me the option to input the data. So here let's say I select 5, here again 5, here let's say I select 6. Out of 13 I would like to select all the 13. These are high value items. Out of 11 I would like to select 11, 1, 1, 1. So totally if you see 27, 33, 43 number of records is selected. I say extract. Now you find that it will be able to pick up the data from each of the bands. So totally we got 43 records, and from each of the bands it has selected the exact number of samples which you wanted. Now let's look at one interesting function, which is the relative size factor. What is the relative size factor? Some of you may be already knowing. It displays the variation between the highest value and the second highest value in terms of the difference and the multiples for specified numeric column. For example, I would like to know for the purchases which have been made for each material code, I'd like to know what is the difference between the first highest and the second highest and find out the ratio between the two. So we are verifying the correctness and validity of the data using this. Now let me use the procurement file for this. I go to procurement. Now here if you see, I've got the material code, I've got the quantity and the unit price. Now it's very important that you know what is the data you're going to select. I'm going to do analysis, relative size factor. You remember I talked about the data which I want. What is that I would like to know? I would like to do based on the material code, and based on the material code, what is the numeric value? I want to find out the unit price. I want to compute the relative size factor for each material code based on the unit price. and I say OK. Now you see, it's very simple. You need to know what is the data you're going to select, and you have to click on the right options. Now you see, based on it has gone through all the 2000 plus records here, and it says the material code B1681, the first highest is 77, the first highest is 40, the lowest is 5, and the variance is 35, and in terms of relative size factor is taken as 8, which is 40 divided by 5. The second item 1657, it says the highest item is 5000, the second highest is 2985, it gives you the variance, and this gives you the value. So this is how you'll find what is the difference between the prices, between the first price and the second unit price. For example, while computing, let's say headphone costs 500 rupees, it has been wrongly entered as 5000 rupees, and it might have also been bought for 550 rupees or 600 rupees, and then you find the highest is 5000 rupees, the second highest is 600 rupees, and then you'll be able to find out the relative size factor. Okay, now we got another function which I'll show you, which is similar in nature. Now the disadvantage in the case of material relative size factor is, if the values, the first and the highest are wrong, both of them are wrong, then for example I have bought the headphone at 500 rupees, but I have bought this first highest as 5000 rupees, I bought one more item at 4900 rupees, then relative size factor will not find any variance, because find the first highest is 5000, the second highest is 4900. Now this is the problem which is solved by using the maximum variance size factor. So what happens in this case? We are finding the difference between the highest value and the lowest value. Okay, let's go to the function and perform. Now I'm going to select the same file, analysis, maximum variance factor. So what do I select? I select the material code, and then I select the unit price. You see, most of the cases we have kept the functions in a very consistent manner, and I click OK. So it means only few selections, few clicks, I'll be able to get the result, and see the tremendous value you can get from this, the tremendous insights which an organization can get. Now you find the difference between the RSF and the MFV. So you find here, this item is 40 rupees, the minimum price is 40 rupees, and the variance is 9 times. Similarly, I bought one item, maximum price was 160, the minimum price is 16, this was not detected by the relative size factor, and you find the variance is 9 times. Similarly, I've got another item which was maximum is 31 rupees, the lowest is 10 rupees, and you find the variance is 21, which is 2 times. So this is how you can perform the maximum variance factor. This is definitely very useful when you're doing a analysis of the procurement. Through this video, we have covered 12 key functions. I hope you are able to understand how this function works. If you'd like, you can pause the video and perform these functions using the sample data. If you got any queries, you can email me at this email which is given. Now remember, we can use data analytics to manage at the speed. Now you find we use this data analytics software for an e-commerce company which had about 9 lakh transactions of about 9 months, and we're able to, just by using this relative size factor and the maximum variance function, the internal auditors were able to identify the exceptions on all the items which they have purchased. And this is the power of data analytics. Manually, it would not have been possible. So you can see more videos. I request you to watch the next video, which will cover 12 more functions pertaining to eCAAT. So remember, the objective of this presentation is not just to teach you eCAAT, but to teach you the techniques of data analytics, how you can use the computer itself as a tool for performing data analytics. Thank you very much. Look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye.